2011 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Would you please stand? Coach Williams, would you lead us in prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Our gracious Father in heaven, we come thanking you for another blessed day. We thank thee for the opportunity you've given us to serve our community. We ask that blessing and mercy upon this board, and not only this board, but this staff, that you direct us to do that which is pleasing in your sight. And we pray a special prayer for those who have come seeking a solution to a problem. We ask that the Holy Spirit guide us and lead us that we might do that for which is right in your sight. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christy, would you please call the roll?
Chair David Connor.
Here.
Mr. Jake Porsche.
Here.
Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
Mr. Frank Webb.
Here.
Mr. John Duhan.
Here.
Mr. Ray Taylor.
Here.
Mr. Whit Baker. Mr. Gary Navarre.
Here.
Miss Betty Brown.
Here.
Miss Latricia Cobb.
Here.
And Mr. Elijah Gilry.
Thank you. This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request on the agenda. After a motion to approve and a second is received, the planning staff will clarify the request and report their recommendations. And I want to remind the board that we will be receiving the motion as soon as I read the item on the agenda. If the applicant would like to add to staff clarification, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name and address and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicant will need to fill out a blue request to appear card. They're in the back, and you can bring that up front. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected from any group wanting to speak that on the same agenda item. We're not going to limit you to one, but we don't want repeated conversation with the same or repeated comments that doesn't add anything new. If possible, if you can do that. In general, we'll try to allow those comments to 5 minutes per person. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board. All zoning exceptions in various cases are final tonight. The rezoning and road abandonment cases will go before the police jury for final action tomorrow, Wednesday, February 16th. And remember, this is outside of our normal police jury meeting. It's normally held on Thursdays. It's being moved this week to Wednesday, February 16th, here in this same room. This meeting is being taped by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel. It can be viewed on Wednesdays and Thursdays following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. You can also view on Channel 5 in Lake Charles and Sulphur, Channel 61 in Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, and DeQuincy, and on Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. If you'll please turn off your cell phone and pagers, appreciate that. Before we get started, I want to give our thanks to our recently outgoing board member, Mr. Harold Doucette. Harold has been on the board for some years and came on as chairman. Probably they're going to be on his record as the shortest standing chairman. He was chairman for one meeting and has resigned. But we also want to welcome and recognize Mr. Frank Webb taking that position from Ward 4. So welcome, Frank.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5. Take appropriate action to approve the minutes of the December 14th, 2010 Planning and Zoning meeting. I have a motion.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Duhan, a second by Ms. Brown. All in favor? Okay. Item number 6.
Are we going to elect a co-chairman before or after?
We'll do that at the end.
Okay.
That'll be the last time. Item number 6. Take appropriate action on case VA 08-001-11, a request by Joseph and Julie Rutherford for a zoning variance to allow second dwelling with less than required public frontage, required to 200 feet, requesting 56.16 at 6982 McGowan Road in Ward 8. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
That with stipulations or without?
With stipulations.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Duhan and a second by Mr. Porsche. Ms. Wallace.
The petitioner's property is located in the LeBlue settlement area. It encompasses about 6 acres of A1 agricultural zone property, and the petitioner's daughter would like to move a new 16-foot by 18-foot manufactured home on the property Because this would be the second dwelling on the property, because there's an existing manufactured home on the site, the petitioners do need a variance from you to proceed. The staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulations that the development adhere to the site plan on file and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
Any comments by the applicant? Not here? Okay, comments from the, I'm sorry? Do you want to make any comments? Okay, comments from the board? Questions? Okay. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7, take appropriate action on case VA-08-003-11, a request by Hilda Johnson for a zoning variance to allow a second dwelling on one lot, a manufactured home at 6267 Mark LeBrelou Road in Ward 8. I'll entertain a motion with stipulations.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, a second by Mr. Taylor. Ms. Wallace.
The petitioner's property is also located in the LeBlue settlement area. This property encompasses just over an acre of A1 agricultural zone property. It's a similar situation where the petitioner would like to place a second dwelling on the lot. In this case, the petitioner's son would like to place a used 14 by 76 manufactured home on the property. The petitioner does have a heart condition, and the son would be there to help her out with any of her needs. She does live in a house that's on the property now. The staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulations that the development adhere to the site plan on file and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
Okay, comments by the applicant? No. Questions, comments for the board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, take appropriate action on case RZ 04-001-11, a request by Cole Enterprises LLC to rezone from R2 mixed residential to I2 heavy industrial to allow heavy industrial development, bulk materials and storage at 2737 Bayou Den Road in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion from Mr. Duhon, second by Ms. Brown. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Sulphur and encompasses 12 acres of property that's currently zoned mixed residential. There are 8 manufactured homes and 5 houses on the property now, but the property is all owned by one owner, which is Cole Enterprises. Cole Enterprises would like to sell this property, and the buyer would like to place bulk materials to be stored on this site. To do that, the seller would have to have the property rezoned, so they've agreed to do that ahead of time. Long-range plans for the property might include a railroad at some later date. They're just not real sure, but they included it on the site plan because the staff, when we recommend to grant the request, we also want you to stipulate that the development adhere to the site plan on file.
Okay, any comments by the applicant? No. Comments, questions for the board? Have a motion to approve. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, take appropriate action on case RA 04-002-11 to a request by Cole Enterprises LLC to abandon Leon Cole Road in Ward 4. Entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So move.
I got a motion from Mr. Taylor and a second by Mr. Forshey. Ms. Wallace.
And this is the same property that we discussed in the last case. In this situation, there is a road that runs straight up the middle of the property, as you can see by the pictures, and we call this Leon Cole Road, but the road was never dedicated to the parish. I don't believe that the parish ever accepted maintenance of the road, but it is constructed, it is built, but the parish doesn't take any ownership of it. And as part of the sale of the property, the seller would like to have the road formally abandoned, just to have something on record stating that this is not a parish road. And the staff does recommend that this be granted.
Is that for comments by the applicant? No? Okay. Mr. Baker.
The trailers and stuff on that, the people living in those?
Yes. And they will be located If both of these cases are approved, they'll be relocated to another site. The details of that I'm not sure of. I think it's something that the property owner's working out with his renters.
Questions, comments? Mr. Cole?
Cade Cole, on behalf of the applicant. I just wanted to clarify.
Your address, please, for the record.
Sorry, 2736 Rue Calais Drive, Lake Charles.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify, Mr. Baker, the current tenants are on a month-to-month lease, so they don't have a right to remain beyond that. They've all been accommodated by being given offers to move them in tandem with the sale. So they'll all be accommodated as part of this process.
Okay.
One more question.
Mr. John.
How long of a notice are you going to give them if it passes?
This has been going on for a number of months. They've all been notified, and my understanding is all but two have already been moved. So it's all being worked out as part of the process, and they're all being moved as an accommodation for their cooperation. So.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Have a motion for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 10, take appropriate action on the revision to case RZ 04-026-08, a request by Thibodeau Property Group to remove stipulation number 4 that the sign be a low-profile monument sign made of brick as per site plan on Coach Williams Drive in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion for approval with stipulations. Got a motion by Ms. Cobb and a second by Ms. Brown. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Mossville area and encompasses over 5 acres of property. The property was actually all zoned I-1 light industrial until 2008 when the police jury rezoned 3.2 acres of the property to I-2 in order to allow junk and scrap storage and sales at this location. There were 4 stipulations that were imposed. One of those was regarding the signage, that it be a low-profile monument sign. And now that the petitioner is doing his development, he would like to remove that stipulation so that he could install an 8-foot by 20-foot freestanding sign at this location. The staff recommends that the request be granted with the stipulation that an occupational license be obtained within 5 days of approval. But something that's not written in your brief is in accordance with stipulation number 3, a tree buffer has to be installed before we can issue that occupational license. So you may want to speak with the petitioner to see what kind of time frame he's looking at for that tree buffer, and you might want to modify the 5 days for the occupational license if it's warranted.
Okay, is this Tony Thibodeau, the applicant? Is he here? Mr. Thibodeau, if you'll come up. State your name and address, please, for the record.
Tony Thibodeau, 815 Granger Road, Sulphur, Louisiana.
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about the request? Ms. Rawls has brought the question of item number 3, that stipulation that has not been.
Okay, it asks for a tree buffer in front of an 8-foot fence that split the difference of our I-2 and our I-1 property. But right after that, we had to have some sand. We had some sand hills we had to have cleared down, so we had some dirt work going on. And also, we went ahead with our Phase 2 construction and built our front part, which is shown on the TV now. So that kind of hides everything from the road back. So that's kind of what held us back on that. But and still, we don't. We're about to get the 2 occupational licenses on this new building. There's 2 businesses in the front building.
Mr. Williams.
Mr. Thibodeau, since the police jury some time ago honored that road in my name, I don't want to be selfish, but do you have a diagram of what you want to change on that sign?
Yes, sir. I have a picture of what the signage or actual
On the screen,
signage will
Mr.
look like,
Williams.
It's on the screen.
and also a picture of the framework of it.
Mr. Thibodeau, if you could just pass it to Mr. Williams, I'll pass it around.
Type of sign on the top, the framework, so which will be painted before.
So it's a brick veneer with sign
That
on
would be
top.
metal tubing painted.
Mr. Baker.
Mr. Thibodeau, there'll only be one business on that sign, or?
No, actually, it's we have we'll have 3 businesses and room for 1 more on the sign. And that was why our request, because on a monument type sign, there's no way we can advertise, more than 1 business. Plus, if it's on the ground, when you leave my business, there's a railroad track. Somebody coming over that railroad track at a high rate of speed, they're not going to see them. They pull out, there's an accident right there. So with this sign, it'll actually start about 5 foot high to where a car pulls up, they can see oncoming traffic.
Ms. Wallace, can you tell us a little bit about, is this in the previous IDO corridors? It's not? Okay.
No.
Is there
it's not.
anything, he's talking about the danger of this monument sign. Can you tell us anything about the reasoning, but why the monument signs were put in place first, why that stipulation was there?
I wasn't handling these zoning cases at that time. Maybe Mr. Vickers, Ms. Tunn, maybe somebody can shed some light on it if I'm not correct in my assumption. But this being a newly built road, I would assume that the staff wanted to set the tone of the area, and possibly that's why a low-profile monument sign was preferable here. But maybe Mr. Vickers could shed some more light on it.
That is correct.
Any comments about the danger of a monument sign? Why would we have suggested a monument sign if it causes a hazard to the?
I've not seen any studies regarding safety.
Okay. Mr. Taylor.
I noticed in one of these pictures it shows it like an inset in your parking lot. Is that where the sign's going to be
Correct. Correct.
planted?
Mr. Chairman, I got one more
Mr.
question.
Taylor? I'm sorry, Mr. Williams.
Now, this particular sign here, this is one that's addressing off 90 to your business.
Yes, sir.
All right, what about the one on East Burton, Old Spanish Trail? Because that's going to be coming back to your business too, going to Walmart. Y'all going to address that one too?
Right, there'll be signs on both sides. Is that what you're asking?
The one off of East Burton? The turn in front of your business going back to Old Spanish Trail of East Burton.
Correct.
There's a sign there too, say Coach Williams Drive. Similar to the one we're addressing here. Are you gonna do the same with that one?
I guess I'm not following what you're asking.
Maybe you can put it, Mr. Vickers.
I'm not sure that I can.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
maybe I could rephrase it for Coach Williams, but I believe that he may be asking about an off-premise sign
Yeah.
that's not at this location, and if the gentleman plans to make those signs similar in nature, is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
that's what I'm saying, because it's joining his business on both sides. Both ends,
I'm
really.
still not following what.
You have a sign that's off of this premises that directs people to this location, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
There's no sign, or are you talking about the business that
Yeah.
he has?
Okay.
So the only signs that you have are at this location and at the other location on Napoleon. Is that correct? You have no other signs for advertising your business?
No, ma'am. We have some plywood signs that we just have propped up right there. They're shown on the picture, but I have nothing at any other location. Other than at our past location, now we have a billboard that we rented that says we've moved.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, I have a motion for approval. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, item number 11, take appropriate action on case RA 05-001-11, a request by Larry and Steve Holly to abandon approximately the west 685 feet of Fountain Cemetery Road on Fountain Cemetery Road in Ward 5. I'll entertain a motion for approval with stipulations.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Mr. Duhon, a second by, who over here? Mr. Navarre. Ms. Wallace.
The petitioners own the property surrounding this portion of Fountain Cemetery Road's right-of-way. The right-of-way was dedicated to the police jury in 1968, but this portion of the right-of-way was never constructed or maintained by the police jury. The petitioners would like for this to be abandoned. I think that they may have had some issues with public access in the past, maybe some litter issues, and you may want to speak with them about exactly what the issues were, but they would like to be able to close off some of that public access at this time. In 1998, the Planning and Zoning Board and the police jury abandoned a portion of the road, and if you look on the screen, you also have this document in your packet. It's denoted as a green portion of the right-of-way, the southernmost portion. And the Hollies at that time asked for the entire right-of-way, the blue and the green, within their property boundaries to be abandoned. But the police jury and the Planning and Zoning Board worked to try to find some compromise and only abandon that southern portion. So now the Hollies are back, and they would like to have the blue portion abandoned at this time. The staff does not see a need why this right-of-way needs to be maintained for our use, so the staff does feel that this request should be granted. And Mr. Smith and I actually did some research on this situation earlier today, and we do have an alternative access that we would like to go ahead and show you before we begin the public comment period. John, if I could have you bring up that map. There is a road, a public road that comes off of Fountain Cemetery Road. Let me pull up that map real quick. And I can pass this around if you have problems seeing it on the screen. There's a road, it's called Sabine Trail, and it's a very short road. It's only about 300 feet long. It comes south off of Fountain Cemetery Road and runs directly into the pipeline that cuts across Mr. Holly's property. So very simply, Mr. Smith and I were thinking that if the adjoining property owners that use Mr. Holly's property for access to the pipeline right away, if they feel that they're going to be cut off from access, we see this as an alternative method where they could cut down the Sabine Trail and then hit that pipeline right away. Obviously, they'll have to get with the pipeline to make sure that that would be approved, and then they could use the pipeline right away in the same function that they're using it now.
Okay, I think I have speaking here for the applicant, Mr. Roger Burgess. Mr. Burgess, come forward, please.
Good evening. I'm Roger Burgess, and my professional address is Post Office Drawer 7820, Lake Charles 70606. Just very briefly, I'm really here to answer any questions that somebody might have about this abandonment. I know that there were some photographs taken of the property where it's really just a lane that goes on the Holly property about 700 feet, just under 700 feet. If anybody's interested in looking at the photographs, I have some that depict the condition of the path, and I think a good legal reason to abandon what is there. Counsel, may I? You may just pass them around, and what you're looking at is a photograph of the trail that goes into the Holly property, and it kind of winds its way through some wooded area and then out onto the pipeline. And what the parish road is the last part of it, about 200 feet or so. It's actually on a natural gas pipeline. And so what the Hollies really want to do is more than just limit access. They want to have their property fenced, gated. They made arrangements with the natural gas pipeline folks that they may gate the pipeline so long as the Transco people have keys to the gate. So we've already made those arrangements, and that's what they plan to do once the abandonment takes place. Looking at it from a standpoint of liability, and I don't want to speak for council, but I think it's a liability rather than an asset to the parish. It clearly has never been maintained. It's you got holes that somebody can stand in up to their thigh, and I think abandonment is the appropriate thing.
Okay, questions or comments from Mr.? You can hang tight. We might call you back up. Any questions at this point from Mr. Burgess?
One last comment, if I might, very quickly. I'm really not familiar with the Sabine Trail that you mentioned, but the end of Fountain Cemetery Road doesn't just go onto the Holly property. That's a small little lane, but there's a near public road that goes off of the Holly property and directly into the woods that goes around the Holly property so that there's nobody having to cross Holly property at all. That road was actually cut for the purpose of people not having to go on the Holly property. And yet still people go through there, rut up the property. One of the photographs that you have is an aerial photograph, and the entire portion of Fountain Cemetery Road that we're asking to abandon is underwater. And so it just doesn't make any sense not to abandon that part of the property. Thanks.
Okay, I have Mr. Tom Bledsoe. If you'll come forward, please.
Tom Bledsoe, 524 West Houston Street, Jasper, Texas. I represent Fisher Lindsay Louisiana Lands. We've got about 3,000 acres of land, timberland, that this is the only access that we have to that timberland. Mr. Burris mentioned that there was a road pushed around the Holly tract at one time. The problem with that road is that on the west side of the Holly tract, where it comes back out onto the road that runs along the edge of the pipeline right-of-way, which is the road that we're talking about not abandoning tonight. If you've got a vehicle of any size there, the distance is so short between the Holly's line and the Alligator Lake there that you can't make that turn, especially not with a log truck or any kind of heavy equipment. And we've got a lot of land in there that we need to take care of. We need to, from time to time, harvest timber in there. From time to time, there are oil well leases in there. All of that's good for the local economy. It's also true that we've got 2 hunting clubs, or 3 hunting clubs, that have leases in there, and they need to be able to access that property. It's true that the road is more or less just a woods road now, and that the parish has not maintained it in the past, but it wouldn't take very much. You could blade it 2 or 3 times a year and get the potholes out of it, and it would serve the purposes that we need, and it wouldn't be a liability. The pipeline's not concerned about the liability. The road's not over it crosses the pipeline, but it runs down on the south side of the pipeline right-of-way. So people aren't actually driving along the pipeline itself. The people in Starks are here in pretty good numbers because they do not want to see this right-of-way abandoned. The lady mentioned Mr. Smith, the parish attorney. Mr. Smith told me that he had talked to Mr. Burgess about working out some kind of a reasonable agreement that if this road was abandoned, that the owners of that property would be able to get access along that road, and he was told by Mr. Burgess that the owners of that property were not interested in giving anyone access across that property. So if you abandon that right-of-way, you eliminate our access to all of our land that's back in that bottom down there. And you eliminate the access for this hunting club, these 3 hunting clubs, to have access to the land that they have leased. As well as, we have a representative here from the Handcammer Company. They've got several thousand acres of land in there too. That's their only access, is across that road. It has been for a long, long time. And I certainly hope that you won't take the advice of council and 2 people who are interested in seeing that road abandoned so that they can control the access to all of that river bottom in there, because that's what's going to happen. And there'll be hundreds of people who will be out of luck if you do that tonight. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Mr. Taylor?
Looking at this drawing right, or picture right here, this over.
Yeah, is that the one that she showed you?
Yeah, it has.
I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with Sabine Trail, is that what you call that?
Well, yeah,
Sabine Trail is further east.
I'm not so much looking at Sabine Trail. I'm looking at the Holly properties. You know, looks like the Fisher Joseph Group owns the property around it.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if, what is this section right here? Looks like I don't know if it's a cut-through path in the woods, or I'm not sure what that is. It's hard for me to tell.
Well, the part that comes down to the pipeline there on the Holly property is part of the Fountain Cemetery Road. It turns down south right there. Goes through that Rebecca Stanley property, used to be Claude Stanley, and then turns south. It cuts across one corner of our property there.
Right, I see that.
Yeah.
Well, see where it cuts across your corner?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it goes straight along the property line right there. Am I mistaken, or?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. At one time, we tried to fix a road that would go down south straight along our property line with the Hollies and then turn back up and come back up on the west side of the Holly property. But you get so close in there to the Holly property that there's not really enough room for a good road in there that you could get vehicles through.
Right. But if you had to, you could come in along that side and hit that pipeline still from, not going all the way around the west side, but.
No, there's no way, even if you access the pipeline road by either this road you're talking about or that Sabine Trail, which is further back to the east, once you get on the pipeline, you still got to cross the Holly property. You still got to cross that portion that's now parish right-of-way that they want to see abandoned. That's the only way you can get across this big slough in here.
So my understanding is they're wanting that whole section of the pipeline, which they give a pipeline right away to, but they're not wanting to give y'all right away to.
That's right. They've got a pipeline right-of-way running across the property that's not going to leave. Their property's still going to be bisected by a right-of-way, whether the road's there or not. So it doesn't really improve their situation, except that they get control. They get access control. And that's what they really want, because then the price is going to be astronomical to try to get in there.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Yes, Mr. Smith.
Let me say what we did today. We talked to the surveyor who actually surveyed these roads, still works for the parish. And
Which surveyor was that?
Andy McCain, who worked for the parish. Long-time employee of the parish. Go back a little bit run it back to the left. You see those two lines that run sort of northeast to southwest on the right-hand side?
Yeah, the two.
That is not a road. The road is over here amongst these houses. The one that's called Sabine Trail.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Okay, I
know
was
people
saying
who
it was
live on
further
that
to
road.
the east, but this particular map shows something that does exist. There's only one road, and it's the paved road, the Sabine Trail Road. I just wanted to make that clarification.
Right, but it is east of the Hollies property.
Sure it is.
So where it comes into the pipeline, you'd still have to cross the Holly property to get to the property on the west side.
Well, if we abandon this road, you still have to cross Holly property on the west part of that pipeline.
No, sir. The right-of-way runs all the way across the Holly property.
It does not. It does not.
Well, it was my understanding that it did, that it crossed all the way on to the Handcammer property.
No, it does not. It terminates just where you see it. It's on the 10-acre plot that's owned by the Hollies. It's it runs about halfway across their property, and then it terminates, so you're still having to go across their property on the pipeline.
Excuse me, John, can you put a pointer on where he's talking about? Can you do that in a PowerPoint?
Yeah, I see where he's talking about. Yeah, well, that's what he says now. That's not what they said in the past.
But not on that particular map that we were just looking at. You can't put your, okay.
The planning department said in the past that that right-of-way went all the way across that 10 acres. And so now they've changed the story. Well, I'm sure you do now, but at the time, back in 1998, when this issue came up before, they said it went all the way across.
Well, it probably
No,
did.
sir, that is incorrect. We are actually using, this map is what is drawn and what was submitted in that case back in 1997 and 1998. We basically changed the dates on it, but we didn't modify the sketch in any way.
Mr. Duhon?
If my memory serves me correct, when we abandoned the end of the road, it was stated that the pipeline could be used at that time, and that's why the board voted to abandon that end of it, is because they still had access to their property at that time. But now we're being told something a little different.
Yeah.
Mr. Taylor? You okay? Okay. Ms. Wallace?
I actually have a survey of the dedication. Our staff surveyor, Andy McCain, drew this out for us. It doesn't have the property lines on it, but it gives you some general idea. And he did that over the past couple of weeks. And then I also have a plot plan that was submitted with the application back in 1997. And it also shows something very similar. So I'll give it to our speaker first, and then he could pass it on.
Mr. Smith, maybe if you can answer one question about helping us to understand right-of-way. Talk about this pipeline right-of-way. Pipeline right-of-way is a right-of-way that the pipeline has secured to run a pipeline. Does that give the public right-of-way to use that same property?
No.
Or do they have to get right-of-way from the pipeline company?
From the pipeline company, and I would point out, if you go back to that last plot you showed, apparently they give it to people who want it, or they suffer it without complaint, because not only are they using it at the termination of your public right-of-way, and they're using it all the way down to the river. It may be on the side, but it's down the right-of-way. If you look back to the right, there are about 4 or 5 houses on the south side of that pipeline right-of-way, and you will see those people access their houses by a road that's right down the middle of the right-of-way. And then if you look past Sabine Trail Road to the left, it looks like that is a fairly heavily traveled road that passes on into what I think is Fisher property in between the Hollies and that little settlement right there. So apparently it is used. I can't say, I hadn't talked to the pipeline company, but just from this photograph, they apparently let people run up and down and cross it all the time because they live on the south side. And that's the only access they have, is that is a Sabine Trail Road.
Mr. Taylor?
Also looking at these pictures, I see that y'all have the land, kind of in the L shape in that area. Plus, I think on the other side, is that y'all's property also?
No, sir, that's hand camera.
Well, how far does that pipeline go down? Does it go through some of y'all's property?
Oh, it crosses us again further down.
So y'all have a relationship with the pipeline company? Because
we've been using it for years.
Right. So there's some sort of relationship that y'all have that they're okay with y'all using it, right?
Yeah, sometimes if there's going to be really heavy equipment crossing that pipeline, they require us to make special provisions, but otherwise, we've used it, right?
Okay.
So you're saying you have a formal agreement with the pipeline company to use this right-of-way for your own use?
We don't have anything written, but we've always used it and we've never had a problem.
I'm just wondering if there's anything that would keep, even though it is on the Holly property, the pipeline, is there any restrictions that they could state that would keep y'all from using that section of the pipeline, even if we abandon that little corner of the road?
Are you talking about that the pipeline would be able to restrict us, or someone else?
Or even the Hollies, I guess. It's going across their property, but the pipeline, I guess, is paying them for the right-of-way. So
they're paying them for a right-of-way, but it's pretty specific that it's for the pipeline use.
Right.
I'm sure. I haven't seen their easement or their servitude, but most of the time the pipeline servitude specifies that it's for the pipeline right-of-way is for pipeline use. So the traffic that's going up and down there, that's not by virtue of the pipeline right-of-way.
Right.
It just happens to be on the pipeline.
So basically, y'all are afraid if we do away with that road, then that's really going to limit you to your access.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Bledsoe? If not, Mr. David Smith, please.
Can I get Wayne to go? He's more familiar with it.
Absolutely. That would be Mr. Rain. Is it Sion? Okay, come on up.
Wayne Simon. I live in Starks, 4878 E.J. Simon Road. I have approximately 170 members between our 3 leases. That's just members. That's not counting their families and their kids. This road that they're talking about that goes around, they used that road one time for a well. They had to mat it. A four-wheeler will bog down on that road. And I agree, there was water over that road, about 6 foot of it. The property there, that road is basically our only way of getting in there.
Can you maybe clarify that one that you were talking about, an alternative road that was brought up?
Yes, sir.
It's not accessible. And which one is that again?
That's the road that they talking about. It comes around and goes in, that Mr. Bledsoe said that he would still have to cross the end of their property with a truck. That road is through a marsh. It will not hold up to a pickup. A four-wheeler has a hard time getting through it. The more it's traveled, the worse it gets. We've got quite a few members that go through there, and like I say, it's not just members, it's family. We've got people that get to go in right there along the edge of the river and fish, public. I have here petitions to keep this road open signed.
Questions for Mr. Simon? Okay, may call you back up, Mr. Simon.
Thank you.
I have Mr. Herbert and Smith. I'll let you come, whatever order you want to come.
I'm Greg Herbst. I represent the hand camera interest, which is the original family, and now we're in the 3rd and 4th generations as things go on.
And your address, please.
We have
I'm
several.
sorry, if you could state your address.
Oh,
please.
my Greg Herbst, 9039 Katy Freeway, Suite 530, Houston, Texas 77024.
Thank you.
I do admit this whole area floods on a regular basis thanks to both Rain and Toledo Bend when they open up both the generators, because this is a floodway. It's a dedicated floodway. This property is used for hunting, fishing, oil and gas exploration, and timber. Well, Rita took a lot of our trees out as it took a lot of everybody else's trees out. There is no adequate access for oil and gas exploration or for timber except through this road. I've been using this road personally since 1982 when I went to work for the hand cameras. When an oil well was drilled several years ago, about 3 years ago, they do make special exceptions. The pipeline insists, because of the heavy equipment, that they do put bridges across the pipeline because the trucks are extremely heavy. Other than that, the pipeline, when I met them out there when they ran their fiber optics, they don't require anything special. We just drive out there. They just drove out there. Nobody cares. Until you get heavy equipment, and then you put in special, you build up the road, you put down boards, and you put bridges across their pipelines where you cross it. Without this access, we basically have a lot of property that you can't develop, you can't hunt on, you can't cut timber on. And this is the only way I know. And I've walked most of this property. This, on your maps I provided, you can see the blue line, and you can see up at the top, that's where the water comes out of Sabine River when it's up, and it travels through giving water, feeding Alligator Lake. It goes all the way down, and it disjoins itself and becomes part of Long Slough. Then it hits it goes under the bridge there along Highway 12, and it also goes along Highway 12 because there's a bar ditch they dug when they built Highway 12 back in many years ago, probably, I don't know, long before I was born. And I just don't know another way to get to this property. And it would be very devastating to us and to everybody we lease it to and all the hunters and fishers. Thank you.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Herbert?
I'm just confused. How did this start that you would get property and no access? How did it start that you got this road in here with no access?
Ma'am,
And it was houses that are built in there, and they didn't have access. So how did this come about?
since I've been there, the first time we had an issue with access was in 1998 when we came here before the parish jury when this road was trying to be abandoned prior to this. That was the first time it was brought up since I was there in 1982. And our records show no other time did anybody try to block access to this property along the pipeline road, what we call the pipeline road.
That's always been the access, is the pipeline road?
Yes, to this area of our property, yes, ma'am.
When was the pipeline built, do you know?
Will you repeat that?
1948 or 49.
Okay, sir. Okay.
I didn't look up when the pipeline was built.
Well, before that, was there anybody living out there? How did they get to their places, or the hand cameras get to their land?
Ma'am, I only know one person left of that era, and I'm sorry I forgot to ask him. All the other ones have.
But there was people living out there before the pipeline road was built.
Ma'am, I can't swear to that. I can only go back so many years. I know at one time there were some houses out there because we found where they had fallen down.
Yes.
But I personally don't know, except for our camp people who have camps along the Sabine River. I don't know anybody who lives down in this floodplain.
Questions or comments for Mr.? Yes, sir, Mr. Duhon?
And I'm not sure, but if my memory serves me correct, when this portion was abandoned in 98, the road that goes all the way across the Hoyer property, it was stated that the people were using the pipeline and not using this part of the road. Therefore, it wasn't being used, and I don't think it was in good shape, and that's one of the reasons it was abandoned. But the landowners had access through this parish road. The reason the first part of it was abandoned is because y'all abandoned it because of easier access down the pipeline. Everybody was using the pipeline. So that's why we, the board, kind of said, okay, you're not using it anyway, you can use the pipeline. So if my memory serves me correct, that's why it was abandoned originally in 98.
The part of the road that was abandoned was the southern portion. If you look at where
yes, that's correct.
That actually back there, at the time, there was remnants of two homes down there.
Right.
But the part that went straight through is the one it was not abandoned.
Right. So in other words, we understood they had access to it, even though we were abandoning the road. That's why we went ahead and abandoned that section.
But this cuts off their, this cuts, if we abandon all of it,
Right.
it'll cut off their access.
Right.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Herbert? Herbert? No? Okay. Mr. Simon, if you want to come up and answer Miss Betty Brown's question, you've already had your time to comment, so if you want to clarify that question.
Yes, sir. Back when there was houses back there before the pipeline was ever built. It was people by the name of Arrett's that had a camp back there. School buses went down this right-of-way and picked their kids up from right there.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Let's see. Did I miss anybody here? Mr. Smith spoken already? No. Okay, then Mr. Smith, you want to come on up?
David Smith, 267 Highway 109 South, Starks, Louisiana. This road issue, it's kind of got everybody's throat cut that hunts and fishes that swamp. My dad was a logging contractor. I hauled logs out of there as a kid. The swamp is it won't hardly hold up when it's dry. When it gets wet, when you go to pulling log trucks out there, the ground just gives away. I've seen it like Jell-O, drive across it with a truck and then just roll. If we lose this road, the road they're talking about using is not going to be accessible. It runs right next to a cypress marsh, and the water bleeds over into it. And I use it when I go in there because I try not to cause any problems with my four-wheeler. But log trucks couldn't access this road. No way. I was raised in the logging woods. Dad was a log contractor. I worked with him as a kid up till I was about 18. And this issue of the road, I know Mr. Hawley and them personally. I was raised around them, seen the boys grow up. It's a bad deal. It's like, if I'm going to be a good neighbor, why would I slap your face and take away rights that we've had since I was a kid? And the issue here is almost like against the whole community, because we don't go in there and we don't burn the woods, we don't cut the trees down, we don't go in, we know where our property lines are, we hunt our property lines that we have leased. We pick up our litter, we open up roads, because after the hurricane, on the north end of the swamp where my lease is, but it borders the pipeline on the south end, we hired a Caterpillar for a month so we could have access to the roads and cleaned it up. And we try to take care of it. We try to take care of the landowner stuff. And the issue here, I thought it was settled years ago, but undoubtedly it's not. But I would like for y'all to consider probably 500 people with families, children, and my grandchildren. The access on that south end, that's the only way, unless you come from Highway 12 and you have slough after slough, or creek after creek, whatever you want to call them, and you can't build a road. The loggers have took Caterpillars. When my daddy was logging, he took Caterpillars, hired them for weeks and weeks and weeks, pushed the road in, the water came up, road's gone. 5, 6 foot of water through that swamp, road won't stay. That road is packed, it's established, it's a good road when it's dry. When it's wet, it's wet. But just asking y'all to consider that this is not just this group of men here. It's a whole little community of Starks that use that for access to recreation and just letting your children see what the river bottom looks like. Because we're losing so many things in our river bottom. They're clear-cutting places above Maryville. Beautiful swamp. It's gone. Completely gone. Annihilated. Just ask y'all to consider about the road. It's not just us. It's everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from Mr. Smith before he leaves? No? Okay.
Anybody else?
No.
I got a question for the council. Mr.
Thank you,
Smith.
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, I've been listening at from the years they've been using, but it looked like the issue to me is trespassing. Is that the issue? The Hollies don't want them to trespass, in which they have a right, I think, no?
Situation is right now, the parish has a right-of-way for what was going to be a road at one time. It's never been improved, ever. Parish has not used it. These folks have used it because it was public access at the time. I think one of the things that is a little bit of a botheration to me as a lawyer, and I know they say lawyers always gum up the works, but I hear tell there's 300 or 400 people up and down there. Now, we own that. We don't maintain it, apparently in pretty poor condition on some times of the year. So somebody hauls off in there and has a wreck. First people they're going to sue is going to be the owner, the parish. And that's what concerns me. I haven't heard anybody say they would indemnify us or they have insurance. Or I heard him say that, well, if we go down there and use a blade and take care of the road, it would not be in bad shape. But my understanding is the reason for abandonment is we've never ever done anything to keep it up, and I would assume that we're not anxious to do that now.
I got a question.
Mr. Taylor.
If it's a parish, it's granted as parish access, and these people live in the parish, why would we, and they do seem to use it, why would it not be something that we at least keep up that portion so that you do have use of it? Evidently, it's being used, and it is right now part of a parish road, or it's, given the right, where I live right now was about the same scenario. It was, granted access to the parish, but it was a dirt road. I had to improve it myself to make it a usable road, but then the parishes, they've come in and taken care of it, as long as the people that use it take care of it too. But if it's a used road, and evidently what I'm seeing, it is a used road, why would we not want to give the parish people access to it?
I certainly can't answer that.
Counsel, I can.
I'm just a lawyer.
If I might have the
Just a
floor.
minute, Mr. Burgess.
I'm sorry.
Any other comments before we? Okay.
I just have one
Go ahead,
question,
Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Smith. So, when a road is abandoned, is it always turned over to the landowner on either side?
Or to the landowner through whose property it passes. Right. So in this particular case, it goes all the way through Holly property, and except a little piece of it up there, I think is Fisher property. Mr. Fisher would get his little piece, and the Hollies would get the rest of it. Full ownership. I mean, they have ownership now. It's just a right-of-way.
Okay, this is a pretty complicated issue, and there's a lot of information. So I would like, Mr. Burgess, if you'll come, and we'll give you the same chance, those who are in opposition, to speak one more time. So, Mr. Burgess, go ahead.
I want to go back to Mr. Taylor's question and comment. First of all, if you look at the photographs that I brought you, the portion that is the north portion that runs from Fountain Cemetery Road down into the west is not used. They don't use that. They use that great big road that you see in the photographs. When you look up the road, you can see that the very dry road, there's a blue truck on it. And you can see the road that goes around it. It's simply not true that they utilize the, let's say, 300 or 400 feet to go through the woods. That's where you're looking and seeing Mr. Holly standing in the hole. They don't use that. They go around the Holly property, and then they go across the Holly property where you see all the green water. And then they get back on the parish road that's the stretch that's underwater there in your photograph. And then when they get off of the parish road, they're back on Holly property, trespassing on the Holly property, going down the right-of-way. In fact, the Hollies can put a gate up where you see the two Holly property lines. They haven't done it because we haven't gone through the process of asking for the abandonment. But they can limit access to the pipeline right now without getting the abandonment of the road. They could put gates up. Transco's told them they could do it so long as Transco has the keys and Transco can operate their trucks up and down. Mr. Bledsoe, I know, is a very knowledgeable man. I've talked to him myself about other matters, but he's simply wrong about not being able to use the road that the oil field company cut to run their pipe trucks and their board road trucks and anything else they wanted to use. They used that road that went around. It was cut for no other reason than to go around the Holly property. This is my turn to talk, if you don't mind. And ultimately, if you look at the photographs that you've got in front of you, there is a road that comes off of Fountain Cemetery Road, perfectly good road that they utilize, and then they turn and go west on the pipeline and then get back on your public road. Believe me, it is impassable. You look at the photographs or that stretch that goes through the woods. So my position is the Hollies have the right to fence all of their property. They have the right to use their property. Right now, they're not doing it. They're not cutting any timber. They're not going to go put any cattle out there. They're not doing anything out there because of this situation. And also they were hoping that people wouldn't do so much damage to their property as they went across it with their four-wheelers. When it is muddy, they make big ruts. You can see that's a dry time where they're damaging their property. So the Hollies have just gotten to a point where they want to fence their property, utilize their property, and one last thing. They bought the house. They bought the old 50-foot by 20-foot place that was down there. They bought that. And the old road, the old path that went there, that's what they bought. They wanted that. And so there was a compromise back in 1998, and that was to help Mr. Bledsoe and all those hunters. But now there is another road that they can use. It may be that it gets real wet and muddy, but believe me, it gets wet right there. That's not during a flood stage. That's just the part where the Hollies have water on their property. But they ought to be able to use their property, whether it's pipeline or not. They'll be able to fence it, whether it's, they are going to fence it. They're going to fence it, and they're going to put up gates. So ultimately, they're not worried about trespass. They're not worried about trespass. They're worried about utilizing their property and getting to use 10 acres that right now they simply have people going. If there are 300 people using it, that's a surprise to them. But if there are 50 or 60 people driving through their property.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Burgess? Mr. Smith?
Mr. Connor, one of the things that we did today when we talked to Andy McCain, he showed us this, and I just told we have a pointer.
Hey, right.
This is a survey that he did in January of 11. This is actually the survey line for the right-of-way. This is it right here. That is not what is being used. What is being used is this right here, which is actually on Holly property, but not within the boundaries of the actual survey that was granted, that was done and redone. He just did this in January. So that presents yet another problem, and I think that's what Mr. Burgess was alluding to just a minute ago. He didn't have the advantage of this thing in the pointer.
Thanks.
Do you need this?
No. I'm willing to answer any questions about that, but that's a good picture of what I'm talking about.
So in other words, they can cut the road off if they want to, without us doing the abandonment. They can cut the road off to the people.
Sure. If I can direct you again, I don't. It's too sophisticated. But what's going to happen?
Sir, Mr. Burgess, would you go to the microphone? We're taping this. Remember.
I beg your pardon. Remember, what they're asking you to abandon is the portion that starts about where the 45-degree angle comes down from the northeast to the southwest, and then goes across what you see is the water, but that's really the pipeline. And the part that you've already abandoned is what is the part essentially that starts at the woods and goes back to where that house was. And so ultimately the Holly property continues going west. So to answer your question, sure, they can go out there and put the gate up. They've already been given permission to do so. They just haven't done so, waiting to do it in the proper way. They could put the gate west of what you see, kind of where those two spots are. They can put the gate west of that, be on their property line, and nobody gets to go to and from. And they can go back to the east, and they can put the gate there as well. So the answer to your question is yes.
If we could get Mr. Smith maybe to verify, I think we're coming up with two different roads now, it looks like. We got a road that's being used, and we've got our public right-of-way road that may not be. Now, I think the comment has been made that the Hollies can put a gate on their property line. Is that true of a public access right-of-way? They can put a gate to stop that right-of-way. Is that yes or no on that?
My answer to that is I suppose it would depend on how long that piece of property off of the survey line has been used, because you can acquire a servitude of passage by a certain amount of time. I don't know the time, so I wouldn't even hazard a guess on that. If they haven't acquired a servitude by passage, by right, then the Hollies could block off that part that we see up there that I pointed to that is actually being used here. They could block that off. I hear that Mr. Burgess says that they've gotten permission from the pipeline to put fences, which would be right here, I guess, on the pipeline, and then down here on the other end of the pipeline. I can't comment on that. I find that doubtful. Most of these pipeline people like to keep it open. They like to mow it. They like to be able to have access without having to go open a gate. But I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying I find it unusual.
On this survey, where that is public, that's Parish Road, the Hollies, his comment was that the Hollies could put a gate on that public road at their property line.
Not so long as it remains public.
Okay, that was what I wanted clarification on.
They could put one right here. on their property. Right. They could put one right here on their property, but they cannot put one on any of this right here, so long as it's not abandoned. That stops right there.
Okay.
That's as far as it goes. All of this has been abandoned.
Right-of-way goes?
All this has been abandoned, but Andy went on and surveyed the original grant, and that's what this, but this part's been already abandoned.
All right, Mr. Burgess, if you'll keep it under a minute, we need to move
I'll
on.
try to be very brief. The Hollies don't intend to fence anything that is public access at this point in time. If in fact there's an abandonment, they're going to fence the 10 acres. The only gates would be put up, and I just will suggest if I need to, I can get the Transco people to tell you that what they've agreed to us is at least it concerns gates. They don't want any fence can't be on the pipeline, but a gate can be on the pipeline, and they need to have access through the gates. That's all they want. But the gates would be where the water is right now, blocking people from running up and down the pipeline on the Holly property. And that's
Not on the public right-of-way.
not on the, they're not going to block any public right-of-way, but ultimately, that public right-of-way ought to be abandoned.
Okay. Anybody want to make any comments from the opposing side?
I wanna,
Any other comments, Mr. Stuhan?
and I can only speak for myself, but the map you're looking at here, the green part of the road that was abandoned in '98. As I understood it, the reason it was asked to be abandoned because a majority of the hunters were using the pipeline to get access to their property. And we were told they didn't need this green part of the road because they had another method to access their property. So it was abandoned because they had a right. Now it appears we're trying to take away the other passes that we were told they had right away to their property. So it seems things have changed over a period of time.
Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Baker.
In 1968 is when the police jury accepted the dedication, is that correct?
Right.
Well, that figures out to about 43 years, correct? Assuming thereabout, they started going toward the river from that road. So we've got 43 years of use there that is going to be hard to turn you back on no matter what what court you're in. You've let people use it for that long, it's probably going to stay that way. So I'd recommend leaving the road like it is.
Yes, ma'am.
If I could just say, as a staff, I know that we recommended to abandon this road. We do understand the concerns of the hunters and the community and the loggers that use this. I certainly wouldn't want anybody to leave this meeting with the assumption that we're against any of that, because we're not. But when the issue boils down to who's liable when something happens out there, that's when the staff gets concerned. And do we feel that the Hollies should try to work something out with these people to provide access? Yes. And I know that we had these same discussions back in 1998. I would be interested in hearing from both sides if they could tell us which strides they've made to work towards having some type of private agreement on the access. But what it boils down to is the parish is liable if something happens out there. We can't build a road out there. How can we build a road out there? It's a floodway. I mean, it's just engineering-wise, it's just not a good idea. So if we look at it from just a liability standpoint, it's...
Mr. Baker.
I'd like to see the parish spend some money on that road. And last month, we put a road in through a swamp kind of like this and accepted it as being a parish road.
We didn't.
Well, I mean, we accepted.
A private
Yeah, we
person.
accepted
Right,
road.
right.
But
the parish didn't make that investment.
Yeah, but this road was dedicated to the parish, and they probably need to spend some money on that, improving it, and that would lessen their liability if it was in better shape for the 500 or 600 feet, whatever it is, and the rest of it can be there on their own. They'd be off the parish dedication.
Mr. Conner, I call for the question.
Okay, question's been called for. We do have a motion on the floor with a second. We've given the explanation by the staff. We've given the opportunity by the proponents twice. We've given opposition twice to get a comment, so it is time for a vote. So let's, Ms. Christie, if you'll do a roll call, please.
Chair, we have 10 members present. Do you want to abstain from voting?
I'll abstain.
Ms. Brown?
No.
Mr. Duhan?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Mr. Taylor?
No.
Mr. Porsche?
No.
Ms. Cobb?
No.
Mr. Baker?
No.
Mr. Webb?
No.
Mr. Navarre?
No.
9 against, 1 for.
Motion fails. And that was 9 against, 1 for.
You may want to remind everyone that this will go before the police jury tomorrow night.
Yeah, let me remind you that this will go before the police jury tomorrow night, the Wednesday. Be sure y'all remember that for final action. Okay, thank you. Item number 12, take appropriate action on case EX 03-029-10, a request by Sugandhi Development Enterprises LLC for a rezoning exception to reconsider the board's requirement that the new structure must be demolished at 2413 Glen Prairie Road in Ward 3. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Duhan, second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
At the January meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board, you all discussed Mr. Sugandhi's written request to reconsider his, I'm sorry, I'm still kind of focused on the last case. Mr. Sugandhi asked you to reconsider your demolition order for the structure that he began at his home site without permits. At the time of the zoning hearing in December and November, Mr. Sugandhi's request was to build a contractor shop behind his home, and you denied that request, and you stated that he had 90 days to demolish that structure. Since then, Mr. Sugandhi has approached the staff, and we've in turn come to all of you to ask that he be allowed to keep that structure, and instead of using it as an off-site contractor shop, be allowed to use it as his home. And at your last hearing, if you recall, he was asked, Mr. Sugandhi was, to provide some supplemental information regarding the possibility that the structure could even be brought up to code. And you should all have in front of you a packet from a local architect. And basically what it says is that, yes, this structure can be brought up to code. The architect has listed some information in the cover letter, and he's also gone through and made some changes to some plans that Mr. Sugandhi presented, and he stamped all of those. So he does feel comfortable that this could be brought up to residential code for Mr. Sugandhi to use as a residence. The only catch is that if Mr. Sugandhi would like to leave his existing manufactured home on this site, then we fall into another zoning issue because that would be 2 dwellings on 1 lot. So what we need to do tonight, if you approve his request to remove the demolition order, is that we need to find out specifically from Mr. Sugandhi what his plans are to remove that manufactured home before he can be permitted to proceed with the construction.
Okay, Mr. Sugandhi, you want to come and make some comments? You don't want to? Okay. Mr. Taylor.
I believe the last time he was here, he did state that he was going to move the trailer off. I didn't know, but I don't know if he stated he was going to move it off before he started any work. I remember that correctly.
I know that there was discussion about it, but I'm not real sure that we had a firm commitment either way.
If y'all hold down, please. I'm sorry. The question of the removal of the mobile home prior to construction on this thing, if a permit, can that be handled at staff level when he comes to get a permit? Or I'm wondering why, if we're dealing with with reversing our decision, do we need to deal with that, or can that be handled at staff level when he comes to get a permit?
Just as long as everyone's clear that he's going to have to move that manufactured home off. I just want to make sure that without any action by you, it was not advertised, so it would pose a whole new zoning hearing. We can handle it on the staff level as long as we have that commitment.
Mr. Sugandhi, you know, you don't have to come speak, but you're making a request. I'm going to give you another opportunity if you want to come clarify what it is that you're going to do. There's some questions I think that are being brought up that we don't have an answer to. So,
Mr. Connor.
If you'll hold just a minute, please, Mr. Juhan.
The question I was asked is if we do away with the demolition of the building and you bring the building up to specs.
Excuse me, Mr. John, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to ask a question to the staff.
Oh,
Let me go ahead and get him identified. Mr.
Okay,
Sugandi,
I'm
if you
sorry.
state your name and your address for the record.
David Sugandi, 2413 Glen Prairie, Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. John.
I assume you live in the mobile home currently?
Yes, sir.
How long would it take you to bring that building up to specs and then move that mobile home?
I hope so, but maybe 6 months.
6 months.
And
So-
then I have stated before that I'm planning to move the mobile home eventually upon the completion, if I
Right.
may, you know.
Right. And I personally don't want you to be homeless, but I think there's a time limit we should set on you keeping that mobile home if we do away with the demolition order. Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to establish.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Sugandi, you have anything else you want to add?
No, sir.
Okay, Ms. Wallace.
Mr. Sugandi actually has some property that he's discussed moving the manufactured home onto. I think that what I was looking for at this meeting was a firm commitment on the record that he would be willing to move it.
I got you.
Again, to allow him to have a second dwelling on this property, which is what would happen if we would permit him to move forward. It's a whole nother zoning request, a whole nother advertisement.
Right.
A whole nother hoop to jump through. I'm not real sure if y'all want to do that. As difficult as this case has been.
Well, the question I have is,
Taylor, go ahead.
The house that he's building would not be a dwelling until it would be finished. Am I correct, or am I not correct on that statement?
According to our precedent that we've set, it's a dwelling as soon as we permit it. Whether you've put anything on the ground, when you come in and get a permit, you've got a dwelling on that lot. So when he gets a permit to move forward, that's 2 dwellings.
'Cause I know in the past I know several people that have, when they built a house, they lived on the property, whether it be in a mobile home or
And
a trailer.
chances are they had special permission through zoning, or they may have fallen into our second dwelling policy, which means that the lot is large enough to accommodate and has the road frontage. In this case, it does not. So he would have to have a zoning hearing to have 2 dwellings.
Because I know as a individual having to build, it's much easier to be living right there where you're building, and I hate this. Like I said, I hate to, but you're saying we'd have to go through another zoning hearing just to allow him to have 2 dwellings, or we could cover it, or no, we'd have to. Never mind.
I agree that would be the easiest thing, but before we presented you with the reconsideration request, we met with Mr. Sugandi in the office a number of times, and he committed to us at that time that he would be willing to do that.
Okay.
And that's why I'm just saying that I would like to have a commitment on the record.
Okay.
Mr. Navarro.
So he'll have to move the mobile home before he can get a permit to finish his building.
Correct.
Let's make sure he understands that, because it don't seem like he understands anything else after for 3 months.
Mr. Connor, so you're saying we can't make a stipulation that he has so long to move the building? Mr. Smith?
I think what she's saying is that will be dealt with if he comes to get it, if he goes to them, if we reverse our action, we'll have to go back to planning and zone, to the permit office, request a permit, at which point that issue will be addressed when he makes that request. If he never makes a request for a permit, am I saying that right? It will be dealt with at the staff level? Okay. Mr. Smith.
Connor, y'all heard more from me than I really wanted you to hear. The reason that we make them do that is for the neighbors. They need to have notice, and they need to have an opportunity to come down here and say whether or not they have an objection to it remaining there doing construction. So that's why we have to have the second hearing. So tonight, basically, all you can do is say, all right, we're going to withdraw our order for demolition. He has brought in the specs and all the necessary things, and so my assumption is that they will give him a permit to build this residence. But in the meantime, he needs to go on and ask for a variance to be able to allow that to stay there, at which time you can say, sure, it stays there until your house is completed, passes a final inspection. You got 4 weeks for it to go or whatever, but we need to do that really to make it proper so the neighbors or whoever else can come in and make an objection.
I think that's kind of what I was trying to say.
You said it. You just wanted to word it.
There you go. There you go.
Or he can move the manufactured home prior to permitting.
Right. Okay. questions, comments? Okay, we have I'm sorry, Mr. Porsche.
What would Mr. Sagandi prefer as far as you want to move? You have a lot, she said, available to move the mobile home on?
Not at this time, not right now. Well, I have submitted a letter before, prior to this meeting, that I would like, if I may, I would like to keep my mobile home first there until, upon the completion of the house. Then maybe I have, 60 days upon the completion of the house, then I would move it. I have another lot that I have purchased before. It's not ready yet. It's still wooded. I have to clear the lot. Now, it gives me about, I would say 30 days to clear it, and then make it everything ready, the electric pole, the water well, things like that.
Any other questions or comment? Okay, Christie, I'm sorry, Mr. Duhon, go ahead.
Well, I'm just questioning the procedure here. Are we going to vote yes to withdraw the demolition? A yes vote is to withdraw, a no vote is not to? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious about that.
You have the motion in front of you, which is item number 12. We're not dealing with the mobile home, the second dwelling at this point. We're only dealing with the consideration of our previous action.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I have a motion second. Let's do a roll call, Ms. Christie.
Chair Connor, are you going to vote?
I'll abstain.
Ms. Brown?
A yes if he can, a yes vote is
To
say it.
withdraw the
Yes.
demolition?
Yes, okay, yes.
Mr. Duhon?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Porsche?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Baker?
No.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
No.
7 for, 2 against.
Item number 12 passes 7 for, 2 against.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, election of the vice chair for the vacant spot. I'll entertain a motion to open up nominations. Mr. Duhon.
I nominate Jake Poche.
Let's have a motion to open up nominations, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Motion to open up nominations. I have a second.
I didn't hear you.
Second.
All in favor to open up nominations?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Nominations, Mr. Duhon.
I nominate Jake Poche.
Nomination, Mr. Jake Poche.
I second.
Second. Any other nominations?
Move the nomination be closed.
I think I have them. I don't know if that was a real or not. Let me offer any other nominations. Any other nominations? Okay. Nominations are closed, I think, by acclamation, and no other nominations. Mr. Poche, congratulations. You will be the vice chair in the next meeting.
All right.
Okay, item number 14, next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on January 20th, 2011, with reference to the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Board of the January 18th, 2011 meeting. Holly Fountain Cemetery Road was deferred, and that was upheld. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning Board meeting will be held Tuesday, March 22nd, at the Police Jury Building, room at 5:30, and item number 16, adjournment, is in order.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
sorry?
can I have a question off the record?
Yes, Mr.
On that abandonment, to clear my mind, or if something
No,
happens,
we're
are
not
we
quite adjourned
legal?
yet. I'm sorry.
The parish is legal if something happens on that.
On the Holly abandonment, well, it still has to go to the police jury before it's final. But if the police jury does not abandon it and something would happen, then yes, we would be liable for it.
But it's no different than any other road we have in the parish. You know.
Okay, Christie?
That clears my mind.
Can I clarify something for the record? The Holly vote was 8 against and 1 for, and I misspoke and said it was 9 against and 1 for. So it was 8 against and 1 for the record.
Okay, we have that clarified, 8 against and 1 for on Holly. Okay, thank you.
Apologies.
We have it on the record, and I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.